And let's peel back the layers on something truly remarkable that's been brewing in Washington. A decision from the Oval Office that, well, at first glance, it seems maybe like a simple bureaucratic adjustment.
Hmm.
But as we dig in, you'll discover it's far more than that. We're talking about President Trump's recent directive, the one to halt the extended Secret Service protection for former Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's certainly caught a lot of attention.
Right. So our mission today is to go beyond just the headlines. We want to truly uncover the intricate web of rules, governing Secret Service protection and the powerful political currents driving this decision and, fundamentally, what it means for someone like Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're seeing isn't just a news story. It's really a living case study. Executive power, national security, political precedent. It's all in there. We want you to walk away with a richer understanding of what happened, why it matters, and, maybe most importantly, what the long-term implications are. For our political landscape and, well, for you watching it all unfold.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how a single executive decision can create such profound ripples, not just through political circles, but deep into the very systems designed to ensure continuity and safety. It's quite something.
Yeah.
This isn't merely, a political skirmish. It's a moment that illuminates the delicate balance of power, the precedents we uphold or maybe discard, and the very concept of that invisible shield for those who serve. It makes you question where the lines are drawn and who gets to draw them.
Precisely. So let's get right into the heart of the matter then. The directive from President Trump is clear: the extended Secret Service protection for former Vice President Kamala Harris. It's coming to an end.
And soon.
Yeah, this isn't some theoretical date far off. It's effective September 1st, 2025, like next week. And what's particularly striking is that this reverses a previously undisclosed extension, one that former President Joe Biden had quietly granted.
Right, adding an extra year of federal protection of what wasn't widely known about.
Exactly. And this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it? It's playing out against this backdrop of intense ongoing tensions still simmering from the recent election cycle.
Absolutely, the context is crucial.
And the timing couldn't be more impactful, really. Harris is just on the cusp of embarking on this significant nationwide, even international tour. She's promoting her upcoming memoir, 107 Days.
Which details the whole 2024 campaign, right?
Yeah.
Biden's exit, her run.
Yeah, exactly. From Biden's abrupt departure due to health concerns, right through to her own narrow defeat against Trump. It's set for release September 23rd.
So just weeks after this protection ends.
Think about this. She's about to be at her most visible, traveling to major cities: New York, Philadelphia, LA, London, Toronto.
Big stages.
Precisely when this federal security net is being removed, it's a moment of heightened public exposure meeting a sudden change in personal security. It's quite stark.
It's an undeniable confluence of events. And when we look at President Trump's actions since returning to the White House, back in January 2025, this isn't an isolated incident.
That's a good point.
We've observed a pattern, haven't we? Similar steps taken with other figures from previous administrations. Think about the withdrawal of protection from John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, General Mark Milley.
Right, former National Security Advisor, Secretary of State, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Exactly. And even Hunter Biden and Ashley Biden, the former president's children, their protection was withdrawn earlier, back in March 2025.
Okay.
So these moves have led to two, starkly different interpretations. Are they pragmatic efforts to streamline government resources? Or are they perhaps more accurately described as targeted reprisals against political adversaries?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
The context, as you noted, is absolutely critical here.
Before we delve deeper into those contrasting interpretations, maybe we should just ground ourselves in the basics. How does Secret Service protection actually work in the U.S.?
Good idea. The foundations matter.
And here's where we uncover some surprising history, actually. The Secret Service. It got its start way back in 1865.
Not protecting presidents, though, initially.
No, battling currency counterfeiting. That was their original job. It wasn't until President McKinley's assassination in 1901 that their protective role really began. Fast forward to today, Title 18, U.S. Code, Section 3056, that lays out the mandate. Current presidents, VPs, their immediate families, major candidates, they get round-the-clock security. That's pretty standard.
Right.
And for former presidents and their spouses, there's that lifetime protection policy, which is interesting because it was reinstated in 2013 after they tried limiting it to 10 years back in the 90s.
Yeah, that changed back.
But what's critical for our discussion is how this mandate frames the discretionary power of the executive branch, particularly for VPs.
That discretionary power is precisely where Harris's situation lies. Now, the rules specifically for former vice presidents are distinct.
Okay.
There's the Former Vice President Protection Act of 2008, signed by President George W. Bush. It authorizes up to 6 months of protection for the former VP, spouse, and any kids under 16.
6 months. That's the standard baseline then.
That's the baseline. And this isn't just, a couple of guys following them around. It's comprehensive. Armed agents, rigorous advanced threat assessments for everywhere they go, secure transport, home security.
So the whole package.
Absolutely. But here's the crucial element. Extensions beyond that standard 6-month period, they aren't automatic. They require direct executive approval from the sitting president, usually based on a formal review, current threat assessment, special circumstances, things like that.
So a judgment call by the current president.
Exactly. That executive decision-making power is the absolute key to understanding this current controversy.
Okay. So if the standard operating procedure is 6 months, it really begs the question, what compelled former President Biden to grant an extension for Harris in the first place?
Right, because her 6 months were up.
Yeah, her standard 6-month post office protection had already concluded, July 21st, 2025. Yet Biden quietly authorized an additional year of coverage, pushing that end date all the way to July 2026.
A significant extension.
Internally, we know this was justified by, well, what they called ongoing security concerns tied to her high-profile role and the heated 2024 campaign.
Though no specific threats were detailed publicly at the time.
Correct. No specifics released, but the rationale was clear. A perceived elevated risk profile for her.
And her profile is unique.
Absolutely. When you look at it, first woman, first Black American, first South Asian American to hold the vice presidency, she has unfortunately faced this compounded layer of threats. That's just a fact.
Yeah. The historical significance also brings heightened negative attention sometimes.
We've seen concrete examples, haven't we? That 2021 case, the Florida woman who pleaded guilty to threatening Harris.
I remember that.
And more recently, a 2024 arrest, a Virginia man accused of online threats against both her and former President Obama.
So these aren't abstract dangers. They're documented.
Very real, documented incidents. So Biden's directive seems like it was an attempt to provide continuity, an extra layer of protection during her transition out of office, especially since she initially kept a pretty low public profile after the election.
Right. Trying to ensure a safe landing, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in stark contrast, President Trump's rationale for the reversal.
Yeah.
It points to a different interpretation of what's warranted.
Okay, so what's the official line there?
Well, the memorandum he issued, dated August 28th, 2025, explicitly instructed the Secret Service to, and paraphrasing slightly, discontinue any security procedures previously authorized beyond those required by law.
So basically stop the extension, go back to the statute.
Precisely. And this directive, his administration claims, is supported by a recent threat assessment done by the agency itself, which reportedly found no alarming indicators warranting further extension.
No alarming indicators. That's the key phrase then.
That seems to be the justification. This assessment allowed the administration to frame their decision as, a routine adherence to statute, streamlining resources, not, as critics are suggesting, a punitive measure.
So it really boils down to differing interpretations of risk and maybe what counts as an alarming indicator.
That seems to be the crux of it. What threshold needs to be met for that extra discretionary protection?
Okay. Well, this decision, as you can imagine, has just ignited a firestorm of public reaction and commentary.
Totally.
It's like a perfect microcosm of America's fractured political landscape, isn't it? Even something like security gets instantly viewed through a partisan lens.
Immediately.
So what's the immediate fallout? What are we hearing from, say, Harris's allies?
Well, the reactions from California officials, especially given Harris resides in Los Angeles, were immediate and very critical. Mayor Karen Bass, longtime ally, didn't mince words. Described the move as putting the former vice president in danger.
Wow, strong words.
And she's already pledged to coordinate local protections, suggesting maybe LAPD's elite units could step in to fill the gap.
So local law enforcement trying to compensate.
It seems so. And Governor Gavin Newsom's office echoed the sentiment, labeling it an example of erratic, vindictive political impulses.
Okay, so strong pushback from California Democrats.
Very strong. And this isn't just political rhetoric either. It signals real logistical and financial challenges.
How so?
Think about it. If private security is needed for Harris to maintain a public schedule, especially this book tour, the cost could easily run into millions annually.
Millions.
That's the potential scale, and that expense would now fall squarely on her or perhaps her donors. It's no longer a federally covered protection.
That's a huge shift in responsibility.
A massive shift.
And the public reaction, you mentioned the divide. What are we seeing like on social media, places like X?
Oh, it truly mirrors the deep divides across the nation. It's polarized, as you'd expect.
So on one side,
You have people applauding the decision, framing it as a necessary cost-saving measure.
like follow the rules.
Yeah, exactly. You see posts like, Trump is simply following standard protocol, or taxpayers shouldn't fund indefinite protections without justification. That perspective sees it as pragmatic, a return to established rules, sensible budgeting.
Okay. And the other side.
Then there's a completely opposite reaction, many decrying it as, well, petty revenge.
That's the term being used.
Widely. Comments like, by removing Secret Service protection for Kamala Harris, Trump just set a precedent, suggesting, the next administration might revoke protection for his family. It highlights this deep concern about a potential tit-for-tat cycle.
Yeah, that a system designed to be impartial could become, well, a political football.
Precisely. It raises serious questions, not just about Harris, but about whether security itself will become weaponized in future transitions. And for you, our listener, this sets a potentially concerning precedent for the integrity of public service itself.
Are security experts weighing in on this? What's their take?
They are. And they're highlighting some very real risks. Ronald Kessler, for instance, an author who's written extensively on the Secret Service.
Yeah, I know his work.
He described the move as potentially standard practice if, and it's a big if, no specific threats warrant an extension. However, he also openly acknowledged the agency's undermanned status, which is a persistent concern, right?
Yeah.
That they're stretched thin.
Right, we hear that a lot. Resource constraints.
And former agents have pointed out something crucial. Secret Service protection goes far beyond just bodyguards.
What do they mean?
It includes a vital intelligence-gathering apparatus. Its job is to preempt dangers before they even arise.
Ah, the proactive side.
Exactly. Constant monitoring of online threats, assessing potential extremist activities, meticulous advance work on every single location Harris might visit.
That invisible shield again.
It really is. And it's incredibly robust. Private security, while capable, simply cannot replicate that at the same scale with the same authority or the same access to federal intelligence networks.
So it's not just about physical presence. It's about information.
Critically. And in our current polarized climate, especially for someone with Harris's unique profile, a symbol of diversity who's faced harassment, losing that intelligence layer, is a tangible increase in vulnerability. It's not theoretical.
Okay, let's zoom out now, because this whole situation, as you said, it's not happening in a vacuum. What does this reveal about broader challenges, historical patterns, not just for Harris, but maybe for the Secret Service itself and the fabric of our political landscape?
Well, the Secret Service has been under immense strain lately. We can't ignore that.
Yeah, those assassination attempts on Trump during the...
In July, where he was actually grazed by a bullet.
Terrifying.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And those incidents led to congressional hearings, urgent calls for increased funding. It vividly highlighted the agency's resource limitations. They're stretched.
So, from that purely operational perspective...
Right. From that perspective, reallocating agents from an extended detail like Harris's could be seen as making operational sense, bolstering their core duties, protecting the current president, etc.
Okay, that's one lens. What about the historical one? Have things like this happened before? Revocations or extensions?
It's interesting. While explicit revocations like this seem rare, presidential discretion has always played a key role. It's not unprecedented for decisions to be made outside the strict 6-month window.
Examples.
Consider former Vice President Dick Cheney. He actually received an extension of his protection under President Barack Obama.
How interesting. A Democrat extending protection for a Republican VP?
Yes. Specifically due to persistent threats stemming from his role in post-9/11 policies. That was seen as a bipartisan recognition of a serious ongoing threat.
Okay. Any other examples?
Conversely, back in 1985, Richard Nixon actually voluntarily declined lifetime protection to save taxpayer money. He opted for private arrangements instead.
So it can go both ways. Extensions happen, declinations happen.
Exactly. These cases illustrate that while the law provides a framework, the executive branch has significant flexibility. There's precedent for going beyond the letter of the law
Yeah.
based on circumstances.
Right.
But Trump's action here could be seen differently. Perhaps as expanding this discretion in a way that risks tying security decisions much more closely to political allegiance or perhaps animosity.
Mm.
And that's a profound potential shift, one that could erode trust in the impartiality of the system itself. It raises that important question. How is long-term security guaranteed for those who serve at the highest levels, regardless of their political party?
And the political implications here just feel immense.
They really are.
This decision, it fits pretty squarely into President Trump's broader second-term agenda, doesn't it? Dismantling what he calls the deep state, targeting perceived adversaries.
You've certainly seen a pattern consistent with that rhetoric.
Yeah, since January 2025, the administration has revoked security clearances for dozens of individuals, including, remarkably, former President Biden himself, limiting their access to sensitive information.
That's another significant move impacting former officials.
So if protections, whether it's security clearances or actual Secret Service details, become politicized like this, what's the risk?
Well, one serious concern is that it might deter qualified individuals from even considering public service in the future, if you fear potential post office repercussions based on who's in power.
Yeah, why put yourself through that?
Exactly. And moreover, it sets this potent precedent for future administrations, doesn't it?
The tit for tat you mentioned earlier.
Right. A Democratic president in, say, 2029 could conceivably target Trump or his allies in a similar fashion, perpetuating a corrosive cycle of retaliation.
Which really undermines the whole idea.
That security for our leaders should transcend partisanship. It should be about safety, about ensuring those who serve can transition back to civilian life securely, free from political maneuvering. That feels like a foundational principle. So ultimately, what we've explored today really shows that Trump's decision, it's far more than just a bureaucratic adjustment, isn't it? It's a flashpoint, a focal point in these ongoing political battles, highlighting a really profound tension in our system.
A tension between rules, discretion, politics, and safety.
Precisely. And it forces us to confront both the financial and the human elements involved, those considerable costs of private security. They now fall to Harris herself or her donors. That's a tangible consequence.
Not insignificant.
Not at all. And as she navigates this high-profile book tour, she'll be relying on community and state support like those LAPD units in LA, rather than the seamless integrated federal protection she once had. It's a different reality for her now.
So as the nation watches Harris's next chapter unfold with this memoir tour coming up, this moment really reminds us all of that increasingly fragile line, the line between security and politics.
It feels thinner than ever sometimes.
Yeah. Whether you view this decision as, prudent governance, just streamlining resources, or as vindictive maneuvering, it undeniably underscores the need for clear, impartial guidelines, protections for those who have served at the highest levels of our government.
Guidelines that ideally aren't subject to the political winds of the moment.
Exactly. So for you, our listener, we leave you with this. What are your thoughts on where this balance truly lies between the statute, the discretion, the threats, the politics? And maybe more importantly, what implications might this precedent have for the future of public service and public safety in our democracy? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.